What's good, everybody? I'm Ahsheeda Irene, the author of Tears from an Unsuccessful Suicide Attempt and Soft Taffy, all available on Amazon.com. Just type in my name, Ahsheeda Irene, or type in the title of the books. So tonight I will be reading and breaking down one of my poems in my book, and just kind of like talking about it and talking about the experiences that I had while writing the book and what made me write the specific poem. So I was skimming through and I wanted to read one that was just a little bit more closer to the beginning, which is pretty much age 16 or 17. And yeah. And the poem that I will be reading and breaking down is called Speaking Up. So, this is on page 21 of Tears from an Unsuccessful Suicide Attempt by Ahsheeda Irene, which is me. Speaking Up. September 4, 2006, age 16, poem. I'm tired of being quiet. I want to be heard. Shy, quiet girl in the back, but I ain't no nerd. You think I can't talk, but I got a lot to say. Just take your finger off pause and press play. I've always been taught to speak when spoken to, but it's hard to speak when ain't nobody talking to you. I've been quiet too long and all in my thoughts. No man can teach this because it can't be taught. When the time is right, I will speak up again, but until that moment, I'm going to keep on writing. That is Speaking Up by Ahsheeda Irene from the newest book, Tears from an Unsuccessful Suicide Attempt. So the present self-commentary, again, is my 25-year-old self who actually took the time to go through all my books and poems and writings and do things in chronological order. So my 25-year-old self decided, well, let me kind of clarify or just explain a little bit of the poem and why I wrote the poem on the back of the actual poem. So my present self-commentary says, I wrote this poem because I was simply tired of being ignored and being labeled the quiet girl. I am much older now, and I still have those attributes. It's funny, because I like being to myself. I wish I had an outgoing personality right off the bat, but it takes me some time to open up to people. Once I'm comfortable around someone or had a drink or two, I start to show my fun and spontaneous side. And that is so true when it comes to just me being the introvert that I am. And I think I've always been that way. But it is when I get into, an atmosphere where everyone's having a good time. Everyone's kind of like, good vibes, good energy. And I feed off of that, especially when I'm in a good mood myself, But when I'm, just in the whole stages of being isolated and being kind of down and depressed, who wants to be around all this positive energy when you're down and depressed? So I definitely can bring about myself writing this and saying, you know what? I want to speak up for myself. I want to say something, but people have this notion that I am just a quiet girl, that I don't have anything to say. You can just push over on me and you can just tell me what to do and I'm just going to do it. And that is not my personality at all. But I do feel that happens when I am in that mode and in that episode of depression. I just feel like there's no way I can get out of it. So I'm just going to allow other people to bulldoze over me. And then, once I get my footing right, once I get back to being kind of like a normal person, then that's when my spontaneous side comes out. That's when the Sagittarius part comes out. And I'm having fun and I'm enjoying myself. Let's talk about speaking up. Speaking up when you kind of feel like you're being ignored. I was always the girl that was ignored. I could say something and it just seemed like nobody heard what I said. Like nobody heard what I said. And so now as a 31-year-old, when I do say something, I kind of feel like I have to repeat myself and then say, "Did you hear what I said?" Because being the 16 to 17, 18-year-old trying to fit in with the girls and trying to be popular, or just trying to be just anywhere, and no one listening to what I have to say, no one taking account for my ideas, my opinions. It's like I don't want that to ever happen to me again. So it's like, let me speak up. And I really love that I would write down what I wanted, or how I wanted to be treated. How I wanted to be treated. That sounds so crazy. Writing down how you want people to treat you. It's like, I know how people do the manifesting thing, and they're like, just write down your goals and your things that you want to manifest. I was manifesting, or writing down my manifestations of wanting people to hear me and listen to me. And I mean, in the state that I'm in now, I don't really have any friends, and I'm not really close to anybody. So I don't really need to be like assertive and say, "Hey, listen to me." But I know when I do get into, those rooms and into those groups and settings, I'm going to have to really assert myself and make sure that I'm not overlooked and ignored. And that is pretty much the breakdown of speaking up. I will say more of a breakdown would be, I remember like probably hanging out, like it would be 3 or 4 girls. I'm like the fourth or fifth girl. And when I didn't know what depression was and what I was going through as a teenager. Not having a voice, I definitely kind of fell into peer pressure, but I would always like be careful of which kind of peer pressure I would get peer pressured into. And when I would feel as though that is something totally not what I would do, I would speak up. I would say, I don't want to do that. No, I'm good. I don't want to do that. And I would do that kind of often because of the group I was around. And be like, listen, y'all go ahead. And so I would be called the weird girl. I would be called the quiet girl. I would be called the shy girl, the square girl. And it would be like, well, if every time I speak up because I don't want to do something that everyone else wants to do, then I'm going to be that. I'm going to be that weird, shy, quiet girl because I'm speaking up for myself because I don't want to do something that everyone else is doing. And for anyone out there watching, no matter your age, you can almost kind of correlate this to how you're on the internet and how you want to have an opinion. You want people to hear what you have to say when you're commenting and you're going back and forth. I think you should always remember, when you are speaking up for yourself, that is you being a representation of, your teaching, your education, your home life. And you don't want to be out there with the representation that you're rude and you're evil and you're mean. Have dignity, have pride, and know exactly what you're trying to say when you say it, and know what you're trying to comment when you're commenting, especially, on social media. So that's it for me. Thank you for tuning in to the reading and breakdown of Tears from an Unsuccessful Suicide Attempt. Again, it's all on Amazon.com, and just enjoy. Thank you.